Welcome back, kids, on my channel. Let's learn together. I hope all of you are doing fine as usual, and I also hope that all of you are keeping yourself in touch with your studies. This is important because these are times when it is very easy for any one of us to deflect away from our paths, but then it is extremely imperative on our part to stay focused and to know that post this pandemic life is going back to the normal. We all are keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that whenever we come back, we will be academically and intellectually more updated, right? So, with that hope, with that belief, let us move on very quickly towards today's video's content. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the leftover part of the poem Keeping Quiet, which is written by Pablo Neruda. Now, in the first part of the poem, I discussed with you the first half of the poem, wherein I will just very quickly revise the contents of the earlier part, wherein we discussed that how the speaker asked everybody, each and every member of or each and every resident of this particular planet to just stay quiet, not speak in any language, and not to move any arms, not to involve themselves in any kind of physical activity. And also, once we are able to achieve it, once everyone is together and they're just able to keep quiet, then we will achieve a very exotic moment. That will be the moment of divine beauty. It will a moment which will be very strange and sudden, because we would have never seen this. We have never experienced this kind of silence and stillness. And it also be together, this is also being told by the speaker that in that particular moment all of us will be together, because we will share that bond of togetherness with each other only by keeping quiet. And then we had also discussed about how fishermen, as a consequence of keeping quiet, will not inflict violence on the whales, and at the same time, the salt gatherer who works at the shore of a sea will also just keep quiet and will not gather salt, and will have the time to look at his hurt hand. And at the same time, these people will also have the time to just think and introspect about the kind of violence that they have been committing. Although this particular violence could be important for pursuing their life, or to just pull on their life, or to fill in the bellies of their family members, but definitely this self-inflicted violence will at least stop for few seconds, right? Moving on to the different part, or the second part of the poem. I had read the poem on that day, so I'm not reading the poem again, but I would just read stanza by stanza. Please follow in your books and keep taking notes. It's important so that you can remember the important points. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. Right, this is the next stanza, which is on page number 96 of the textbook Flamingo. So in this particular stanza also, you find the speaker saying that there are very people who prepare wars, green wars, and there are people who prepare wars with gas and wars with fire. So this is again a kind of idea that has been generated into the mind of the speaker, wherein you are supposed to imagine that. And it is not just imagination, this is actually a reality. You just have to realize that there are people who, in the name of doing business, who in the name of commercializing the human civilization, in the name of commerce and trade, in the name of development, in the name of technological development, that too, they are actually at war with nature. They are creating war with gas, and they're creating war with fires. So do not take this very literally. It's not as if the gas and the fire have been inflicted out there, but then simply means that the war with the gas could be a kind of source of a pollution, the pollution that comes up from the factory, which imputes the whole environment, in the sense that a lot of gas, dangerous gases are released by these factories. And at the same time, these are also the wars with fire. So basically their main arms, or their main weapons, are the gas and the fire, which means it could be any kind of pollution, it could be any other kind of activity which is harming the human nature, humanity, and it is also harming the other living beings in the environment. So we, how is it that it is being justified? It is being justified in the name of development, because we know that as human beings we need to develop, and hence it is all justified in the name of development. So there are these people who prepare green wars. Now green wars are nothing but the wars with the nature, maybe, or it is all those activities which have turned against the greenery, which have turned against the nature. Now we are not understanding that to get short-term profits, okay, all these advances that we're making, or all these technological developments that one is making could be important, okay. Although I have a contrary point of view, I do not actually agree with this, but let us, even if we adopt the popular opinion that this technological advancement is extremely important for human civilization, and we all cannot live without this kind of development, let us for a second even adopt this you know of this particular opinion, even then these are short term advances, these are just short term benefits. What we're doing is that in this particular process we are destroying nature, we are creating wars with the gas and the fire, we are polluting our own environment, because anything can be generated, but can the oxygen really be generated once it is completely over, once it's completely polluted? So we need to think about that. So this is what Pablo Neruda is saying, that in the name of making advances we are at war with nature, and at the same time we are at war with ourselves, because whatever the violence or whatever the wrong activities we are committing to the nature are in any way or inevitably going to return to us in one form or the other. So we are committing our own death, although it's an indirect death. We're preparing ourselves, we're preparing a future generation to live in a place or to live in an environment which will be completely bereft of all the positive things and the necessary things for human survival, right? So this is how they're saying that these, we have such people around us and in this particular world, and when we are able to achieve that silence of few seconds when nobody will speak in any language, then at that time even these people will put on clean clothes and they would walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. So what would they do? They would put on clean clothes. Now putting on of the clean clothes, what does it refer to? Is it that they wear dirty clothes? Is it that they're keeping themselves dirty? Is it that they are not taking bath? No. Putting on clean clothes basically refers to the idea of putting on clean thoughts. Because right now, just in the name of progressing, we have put up lot many dirty thoughts into our heads. We are just cleaning up the forest, we are cutting down the forest, we are killing many people, I mean animals, which we, because when we cut down the forest, animals lives obviously extinct, because we're taking their homes away from them. Obviously you're not leaving them any option to live, and therefore we are also becoming a reason for the extinction of many of the important beautiful species. So these are wrong thoughts, these are dirty thoughts, and once we are going to stay in the condition of silence and we are able to introspect something, what will happen is that we all will have the time to think, and we will put on the right clothes. Right and clean clothes refers to the clean thoughts, about thoughts which are more responsible in nature, and about thoughts which are more which will be more in accordance with the lives of other species on this planet. So look at how deeper is the concern of the speaker. The speaker is not just talking to you about something which is like, which can be which could be as simple as asking people to stop pollution. He knows that these things will not come into being, because the problem is very deep rooted. See, government policies can never solve a problem, because the minute government is going to come out with a certain law of, say, a law against deforestation, there are variety of people, there are variety of sections within the government itself, or maybe outside of the government, will come up about how to bend and break that particular rule. So such rampant is the corruption, as such rampant is the wrong and the dirty thoughts that we have. So the cleaning has to be done at the basic level, and that basic level is that first we all have to sit down, keep quiet, and think about what is it that our actions are actually leading us to. So these people who will actually, or who are preparing green war, or who fight with fire and gas. They will just sit down, put on clean clothes, walk with their brothers, and sit in the shade. Now, sitting in the shade will refer to sitting under a tree, of course. It's a simple thing, but at the same time, sitting in the shade is also, when do you sit in the shade? You sit in the shade during summers when you are just too disturbed by the rising temperature. Sitting in the shade comforts you, because that gives you coolness, and you are able to save yourself against the harsh temperature outside, or out of that, the shade of the tree. So sitting in the shade will refer to sitting in a comfort position, or just not doing anything, thinking about what they have done, and just enjoying life for the sake of enjoying it. Right, life should be basic. Life should, we should all be happy that we are all living and we are able to manage our relationships well. Life is about making and managing relationships, and it's not even about managing relationship. If your mindset is correct, then your relationship will always bloom better, right? So this is how these people will do if we are able to achieve this state of silence and introspection. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now this is the biggest stanza, I believe, and it is something which contains the crux of the poem. So I'll take some time on it, and please pay attention, especially towards this, because as I told you, this has the key idea in it, and some important questions from the examinations get formed out of it. So please pay attention. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we are not so single minded about keeping our lives moving, for once could do, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now, here there are few ideas, some of the ideas which are very important and are coming up. What I like about this particular poem, and especially about this paragraph, is that Pablo Neruda has this extraordinary literary genius of putting down some really deep and profound human ideas into very simple lines, very small words, and within a very short span of space, in a very short space. He is able to do it, something which now you will find me taking minutes and minutes to explain to you, because these ideas cannot just be explained in one or two lines. I have to take some time. I'm definitely not Pablo Neruda. I'm not endowed with that kind of genius. But here is this particular poet who has this genius of hinting out, or not just hinting out, in fact, digging out a very deep, profound idea of human experience, of human experience, and then he used very little space of doing it. So definitely, this person is extraordinary. Now, let me just begin dealing with this particular stanza. But before that, I want you to understand this. There, if you, I'm hoping that all of you are above 15 years of age if you're watching this particular video, and if you're in class 12. If you are in class 12, your age must be 16, somewhere around 16. Now, in the 15, 16 years of your life, you would have met people, you would have seen people, would have experienced different things, and you would have by now at least realized that life and happiness is fact a successful life, or a good life, or a happy life has got nothing to do with the material acquisition. Okay, you might acquire endless things. There is absolutely no end to the kind of things you can keep on desiring for yourself: a big car, a big house, a good big balance, bank balance, and a variety of nice people, a good profession, a successful profession, successful work life. This is something which we all demand, which we feel are important to make your life successful. But actually, the quality of your life gets decided by the profoundness of your experience. See, life is nothing more than how you perceive and experience it. I would once again get back to the topic of which I also hinted at in my last video, about how you could be super rich, you could be extremely beautiful, you could be liked by many people, millions and trillions of people could be a fan, but you can still find your life very limiting and extremely worthless. You need to understand that life is how you experience it. It does not have any meaning in itself, but the way you experience it, The way you decide to experience it is something which is going to decide the quality of your life. Therefore, how profound are your experiences of life are something which will decide how successful or how happy you're going to feel from inside, right? So, happiness is nothing when your thoughts and your actions are in alignment with each other. If you are able to do and pursue what you actually think is right for yourself, that leads to a happy situation, that leads to a comfortable situation, that leads to a situation where you are now at peace. Okay, now when you are able to bring that success, bring that happiness out of you and are able to radiate to the people around you, and you're able to make an alignment, a positive alignment with those people, now this refers to success. Now this is something success means, because if I'm able to do something, I if I want to do something at my workplace, I cannot do it alone. I will definitely need the support of people. For example, if I'm making a video, it has no meaning until students actually watch it and learn something from it. If I'm able to do that, if I'm able to bring out the ideas about literature which I find are important and interesting for life, and if I'm able to generate that interestedness for literature in your heart, then that is success. Till I'm enjoying literature, that is happiness. The minute I'm able to generate that feeling of interestedness in your heart and mind, that becomes success, right? So the first step is to get happiness, and happiness is nothing but what and how you experience of life, you experience your life. Therefore he says that when I'm asking you, now I'm getting back to the book, speaker says that when I'm asking you to keep quiet, when I'm asking you to just be silent and not speak in any language, then I'm actually asking you not to go inactive. It is not as if the writer is asking you to go inactive. No, not at all. You are not going to be inactive. You're not going to be passive. You're going to be active, more alert than ever. Because then he says, and this line is very interesting. However, I have always found difficulty in explaining this line to the students. It is life is what it is about. Now, life is what it is about. It is simple to understand. Life is whatever is happening around you, or whatever you are making happening around you. Life is your day, your afternoon, your evening, your night. Life is compiled by all the activities that you do. But the basic form of life is the thought that you generate, right? All everything depends upon the kind of quality of the thought you're able to generate. If the thought, and that is very much in your command, that is something which is very much in your control. You cannot say that, oh, when people say that, oh, I got angry because of this. No, this is a very irresponsible behavior. It's an irresponsible answer also, right? So he says that life is what it is about. Life is about just coming here, getting born and living life, experiencing people. That is what life is about. Life was never meant to make a big bank balance or getting a government job for that matter, or making a very good business. Life was meant to, we were born here to live and to experience the beauty that nature has created around us, but we have very severely deflected from that past. And if even if you want, these days anybody just sitting around a river and just enjoying a river, most of us would consider it as the waste of time. Most of us would consider it as a waste of time, because looking at a river, enjoying its beauty, looking at a hill, looking at a mountain, enjoying its beauty, or just be there, going into the jungle, and you can just move. There are so many forests around us. We are in a hill station. You just move into a forest and try to experience each and every leaf, try to experience each and every plant, try to experience the life of each and every little bird, each and every interest. There's so much to do. If you just experience, or if you just try to think about a little ant which you might find on the floor of your home, you will find there is so much for you to do, because you can spend your whole life just thinking and writing and researching upon that particular life, which is too tiny for you. It is too tiny for you, but for itself it's still alive, right? This is how you should make your experiences more enriching, and that is why you should just do things for the sake of experiences. So this is what life is about. This is what he's saying. Life is what it is about. Life is about your experiences. Life is about experiences, the various kinds of life around you. I want no truck with death. And he says there is one predominant fear, Especially when we were reading this chapter report, I discussed with you that how fear prominently guides our life, right? And one of the very prominent fear is the fear of death. If you remember, I talked to you about how each and every living species is designed in such a way that they live only to safeguard their species, to safeguard their own lives. So if we, this kind of fear is something which we human being at least have a potential to overcome. This is what he's saying. We have a very clear possibility, a very strong and a very potential possibility of overcoming this fear of death. And how is it possible? It is possible that only if we are not single-mindedly busy by keeping our lives moving. Now, what does it mean, single-mindedly? Single-mindedly busy with keeping your life moving, it simply means that right from the morning till the evening, the whole routine of the day is set, isn't it? A disciplined person will always know what to do, how long to do, and when to do. Now, this is a great idea, of course. The idea of discipline is, of course, very great. But this whole single minded pursuing of life is never good because it does not offer you or it does not give you the options of experiencing your life in a different way, right? For example, just if you like reading, and if you know that somehow you have to spend 2 hours every day in reading something, which is a great idea. But if you are just following your routine extremely in a very strict way, you might just miss upon the ability of reading people. You might just miss upon the ability of reading your nature. You might just miss upon the ability of using your own mind critically. Because when you're reading a book, these ideas in the book are influencing your mind, isn't it? This is just one example that I'm giving you. We live our life only towards one aim, and most of the humans' aim in their life is to acquire as much property, as much material happiness as possible. And we are so single-mindedly focused only towards it. Right from our beginning of the life, we put into schools, and every day there's not even a single day when we are not reminded that we are born to earn money, basically. And if we're not able to do that, then our life will be not successful. We have unsuccessful lives if we're not able to earn well for ourselves. And we never question these ideas, that were we born only to to earn money and to improve the properties, or is it some other aim of life? This is what he is saying. Pablo Neruda is basically challenging the very basic standards of life. Is saying that we are never ready to question whatever society dictates to us. Please question it. And this questioning and the challenging of the social norms will only happen if you're able to sit yourself in silence, make yourself sit in a silence, and think about and kind of introspect about the purpose of your life. He says that I want no truck, or there should not be any physical contact. I do not want any kind of fear, any kind of contact with death, because that is inevitable. It will happen. And it is very beneficial for us to having read we were reading this poem, having read Deep Water, because we know that in death, William Douglas tells us that in death there lies silence, there is peace actually. So there is nothing wrong about death. What is more fearful is the idea of death. The idea of death, which is nothing. You gave it, you are the one who feed its power by constantly fearing it. So he says that I want no truck with life, because death is inevitable. It will definitely come. Please don't fear it. This is what he's saying. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, okay? And for once, please do not do anything. Don't read, don't study, don't do anything. Just sit quietly in a one corner of your room. Even the whole world cannot do it. You can do it for yourself, right? For a few minutes, choose a quiet corner of your room, especially those hours of the day when the activity in your house is less or minimum. Sit down, close your eyes, and think about what is actually the purpose of your life. And you're going to get terribly confused, because your mind will basically refute your heart. Your heart will refute what you're pursuing right now, and you will be terribly confused. Okay, so this is what he's saying, that this single-minded focus of only acquiring material properties is something which is something which is leading us to wrong ways, or something which is distracting us, and it is actually building in a huge silence. Now this silence is different. This silence is not the silence of introspection. This is not the silence of or this is not meditativeness. This silence is the silencing of relationships, because we are not in good relationships these days. The single minded focus of only earning money and becoming richer and more successful in our life has actually affected our human relationships, some very close relationships. It could be a family, it could be relatives. And we all are feeling so damn alone that there is this constant fear of death within us. Now, if you're living a very happy and a fulfilled life, you will never have any fear of death, because you know whatever you wanted to do, you have already done. And now, whatever you're enjoying is only the bonus of your life. Okay, so there are people who are really, really wise. And if they have reached up to the age of 70, 80, they'll tell you that whatever they have been able to do, they have done. So even if death comes, they will be happy with it. They'll be. But a greedy person will want, even at the age of 90, will not want to die. Why? Because he feels something more could be done. Now, I'm not saying that those who don't want to die are greedy, or I'm not saying that they are bad. But all I'm trying to say that there's this lack of contentment, actually, even at that age. This lack of contentment is something that leads you towards the fear of death. Okay, so this is, he says that because we are so single-mindedly focused towards progression, that at even at an individual level, all of us are becoming very silent, and we are facing a very dreading this isolation, that we might be living with people, we might be living with our friends, family, but even then we feel alone, and we feel alone because this huge silence has actually surrounded us. And this huge silence is because we have not invested enough, we have not taken time to experience our relationships, which were the most beautiful things we had. Okay, so this silence would be interrupted once you bring in that meditative silence of keeping quiet. Hmm? and and if that silence comes, this silence will be interrupted. If that meditative silence comes in, if we are able to achieve that meditative silence, then very easily we will be able to break away this silence of being alone and isolated. Okay, you are reading newspapers, you are listening to the news these days about how very young promising actor has committed suicide, and the reason could exactly be the reason. I do not know, and nobody knows the actual reason, but definitely there is this extreme sense of isolation and aloofness that drives people towards, towards just ending their life. And they know that there's nothing more left in life, there is no excitement left, because that's how they've experienced their life. Their experiences of life have only told them that they're not going to have anybody important around them when they need them, or there is no one. And that is what I said, this whole lot of material acquisition that they have done in their lives are not enough to keep them going. So this single-minded focus that we all have, no, in our lives of just becoming successful, this should be interrupted. I'm not asking you not to pay efforts to be successful. Do whatever you want to do in your life, but spend some time quietly thinking about why you were doing it, and how worth actually they are of. What is their worth? Whatever efforts you're paying, are they really worth? Question yourself. This is important. Or should you just take a little break and spend some more time with your family members, or learn to experience your relationship in a much more better way, or just experience the variety of life that you have around you. You can even experience a leaf, you can experience a tree, you can experience a little insect, as I told you. You can very beautifully experience the beautiful sounds made by the variety of birds right in the early morning hours. Allow yourself these things. These are luxuries. Allow yourself these luxuries, which you have been considering a useless, worthless, and a waste of time. So these activities are not always useless. So you must understand that material acquisition will not lead to the happiness. The happiness will only be gained by understanding ourselves. And this understanding will only happen once you are able to overcome the huge silence of not ever able to understand yourself. So understand yourself better. And for that, you need to keep quiet for some time, as a speaker is asking us to do, right? So you need to understand that as a youngster, as a human being, as a student, you have certain duties. Yes, we have always, getting those dictates from family and society. But whenever you feel yourself in a pressured condition, whenever you feel that you are under stress, stop doing whatever you are doing. Sit in silence and think about why you are doing it. What could be the reason? And once you have a good, solid, substantial reason to that why, then your moving on will not be difficult. So spend more time in experiencing life than just living life for for acquiring certain things, or for only keeping things with you, right? Then he says that perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. So earth itself under your feet is such a fertile thing that it has been able to grant life to each and every living being. And each and every living being, even when they die, if they have run out of life, earth, which gives life to each and everything and still seem lifeless, is extremely full of life. This is how you must take a lesson from earth. You can take a lesson from earth because it is quiet. It seems very passive. There is no activity which is seen in it, but still it provides life to each and every living beings. And even when these living beings are dead, no, Earth is still capable of giving birth to new species and to new forms of life. That's how you should learn lesson from life. That even in a state of passivity, that even in a state of inactivity, or even in a state of silence, you could be most productive. And that is the real reason. And you could be more productive because you may find out the purpose of your life itself. Therefore, the concerns of the poem are extremely philosophical, but at the same time, I find these concerns are extremely practical. These are very important ideas that each and every human being should understand and, as much as possible, try to follow. Because when that doesn't happen, we find ourselves always at loss because we do not know why and where are we heading to. So then in the last sentence, he says that now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I'll go. And he says that, okay, this is how he's instructing us all to just keep quiet for a certain time. And, he will count up to 12, and then he will go away and we all have to keep quiet. So please, read the poem once again and see if you can come up with some other kind of um, this criticism of the poem or understanding of the poem. And then there are some questions over here. Please attempt them, and I'll also uh, give you some other sort of assignment related to it, if possible. See, there are few important questions that get mixed up from this particular topic, and they are from what do you learn from Earth? This is one very usual question that appears, I think. Yes, look at the fourth question over here. It says that about what symbol from nature does the poet invoke to say that there can be life under apparent stillness, which is earth. So the symbol that is being evoked is of course earth, but then add a y also here. So earth seems to us very quiet and still, but then there is life in it, isn't it? And for example, a little seed that you might see, which you can hold in your hand, if you plant it at the right place and if you keep on giving it right amount of sunlight and water and manure, whatever it requires, it turns into a big tree. And that itself, when you saw that seedling, you could never imagine that it could actually turn into such a big tree. And still it just remained grounded at at a stable ground, and it does never move into its life, but it still becomes so big and is able to give you shade for years and years together. This is how progress is actually done. Progress can be done with utter stillness and quietness. This is what the poem, according to me, was. Please share your own ideas with me in the comment section if you want to, or you can contact me also directly and share your ideas. If you still have any problems, please do let me know. Now, it's been quite some time that I've been uploading my videos. I would urge you to give me some kind of feedback so that I can improve my upcoming videos. And I once again, I'm not very techno savvy. I'm not been able to use a lot of thumbnail, and there are many other attractive pages that people are YouTubers are able to uh, able to make just to get more number of views on them, which I'm not, because right now my purpose is, and my only purpose is to ensure that the students, especially my own students and students across the whole country, can benefit themselves. So please share them with other students also if you find these videos are worth sharing. And if you can tell me about how should I improve the content of my video, please do let me know in the comment section so that I can come up with better videos. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have liked and learned something out. Thank you so much.